I hope everybody is doing well. Happy belated start of spring. I guess it started a few days ago, although it doesn't feel or look like it, except where Maryland is. Um, by way of there's not a there's a lot to say, but not a lot to say at the same time. Um, as you guys probably are aware, the liquidating receivership, and this goes back several months. I think it happened before we last met. But just in case, the liquidating receivership, which was the old hospitals, and Attorney Tom Hemmendinger was the liquidating receiver. Because of the circumstances that exist now in terms of the St. Joe's plans claim in that receivership, and I guess the alignment of interests, Attorney Hemmendinger has been replaced by me as the liquidating receiver. So now I'm both the liquidating receiver of old Roger Williams and old St. Joe's, as well as the receiver for the plan. The reason for that is that the money that was flowing into the old entities as part of the liquidating receivership, we were able to get all parties that had made claims and either resolve them or Tom had objected to their position. And ultimately, it was determined that the plan had the greatest right to the funds that were going to flow into that. So once we got rid of other claimants who would have been at odds with me in terms of my claim for the plan, then the interests became aligned and there became no need to duplicate efforts between Tom and I. So the court removed Tom and put me in place just for efficiency purposes. In addition, there hasn't been anything that has happened in the federal court proceeding, in the proceeding itself. But we have been engaged in mediation with the diocese. As a matter of fact, there was a session today that I just got out of maybe about an hour ago. Unfortunately, because we are in mediation, I can't tell you anything other than I am encouraged by the discussions today towards settlement, but I can't give you any details as to what happened today because we are still in mediation, and until either mediation breaks down or we come to some resolution, I won't be able to speak to the details of it. In addition, I can tell you on a positive note that I have been having much more frequent communications with the PBGC down in Washington, D.C. And I am encouraged by those communications. We have not gotten any commitments of anything from the PBGC as of yet, which doesn't surprise me as the litigation with the diocese continues going. But the fact that we have been talking much more frequently and that those conversations have been what I would characterize as positive, then I would tell you that in and of itself I view as a positive step. Again, I can't give you the substance of those discussions because as of right now, I haven't gotten anything official from the PBGC. We have been talking. There have been multiple discussions on multiple levels, both with the PBGC as well as the Internal Revenue Service, which is also involved in that process. And like I said, I'm happy with the way those discussions have been going, and I'm encouraged by the frequency in which we've been communicating at this point. But I can't really get into the details of it. So the bad part of it, or the part where it's probably frustrating, is I can't really tell you where we are with the diocese, and I can't really tell you where we are with the PBGC, the diocese because I'm in mediation currently with them, and the PBGC because there hasn't been anything definitive stated by the government agency, and they probably will not give me any official position on anything until the litigation with the diocese concludes. I can tell you that I am continuing to pursue what is necessary to ultimately and hopefully get the PBGC to ultimately take over this plan and give you guys 100% of what you're entitled to under your pensions. So I'm doing all the filings that I need to do and everything else and having those communications. But they have not taken an official position with anything yet, and I'm not surprised by that. With that, that kind of very vague 50,000-foot kind of explanation of where we are today. I'm happy to take any questions from anybody. If it is about your benefits or any communications with GRS, I believe Julie is on the line. And if you send Julie your information and the issue that you have, she can help facilitate either a communication with GRS or finding out the status of your paperwork or things like that. Any questions?
Steve,
Yes, John.
in relationship to the liquidation proceedings, there was a motion filed to transfer the funds. What has
Oh,
happened?
yep. Yeah, I'm glad you asked me about that, John, because the court issued a decision just a couple of days ago. I think it's been posted to the website, but if not, it will be like within the next day. The judge denied our motion on that, and without prejudice, meaning he denied it and gave us the ability to come back. And essentially, he said, I want to wait and see where things are in about 12 months. So what that means is I was looking to get all of the funds that were held in trust sent over in a lump sum now. What the judge's decision means is that I will not be getting them yet in lump sum. I'll continue to get them on a quarterly basis as the trusts have been distributing them all along. So the money will still come over. It is continuing to come over. When that money comes over, it goes into the plan. But the request to have it liquidated into a lump sum amount at least was denied temporarily, or at least for the time being. So it's obviously I would have liked to have gotten all the money, which would have been somewhere in the vicinity of another $10 million lump sum. But the good news is that the money is still flowing. That's not a decision that means that the money won't continue to come to the plan. It's just not coming in one lump sum.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions on either that or anything else?
Dave,
Yes.
what is the cash value now?
Julie, do you have that off the top of your head? Because I, sitting in mediation today, I didn't even get to look at anything.
I do. It's 51.46 million.
Thank you.
And by the, Julie, is that 51 including the money that is over at Schwab?
It's not, that's just what Bank of America is holding in the plan right now. So
So
there's
that's-
about another 10 million.
Right, I was just gonna say that. So Ken, the number Julie gave you 51, that's what Bank of America is holding. In addition to that, there's about $10 million over at Schwab that is under, I guess for simple purposes, I'll call an account that has restrictions on liquidation, date restrictions on liquidation. Once we're able to liquidate that, that money will also go over into the plan. So when I make my report to the court, I combine them, but I advise the court that 51 is actually at BOA and 10 is at Schwab, but it's a total of 61.
That's not the same 10 million that you just mentioned in receivership, right?
No, it is not. That's separate and apart from the 10 million that's held in trust. And the money that's held in trust is held by multiple trusts. So it's not just one trust. I think it's like 6 or 7 different trusts. Anybody else have any questions?
Steve,
Yes, Marilyn.
that means that we have like 5 more years of money left? Are we
That-
still doing $1 a month?
Almost 7.
Say that again, Marilyn. I missed the last part.
The $1 million a month? And if we are, does that mean we have like 6 years left?
5 years.
Yeah, I mean, doing the quick math, keeping in mind that the money is earning interest. So it's not it's not dissipating at the tune of about 12 million a year. It's somewhere about 7 million a year because of the interest, 7 or 8 million. But yeah, based on that, it's about, give or take 6 years would be when the money would run out, which actually, in the grand scheme of things, trying to put a little bit of a positive spin on it. When we started this back in August of 17, the runway was about 7 to 8 years. And we are now almost 5-6 years into it, and we're still at a runway of about 6 years right now. Based on, and I will say this, Marilyn, based on my discussions, both in mediation and with the PBGC, I am very, very, very hopeful that runway, that timeline is going to become irrelevant relatively soon.
I sure hope so.
Yeah. So, that's my job is one way or the other is to, from day one, has been to try to protect your pension, and make sure that you guys get what you worked hard to earn and save and get in your retirement years. I'll do a little retrospective. When we came into this in August, if you remember, they were looking to cut your pensions by 40% across the board. And there were some other issues and problems that they had raised that they were suggesting. And I'm happy to say that since that date, everybody's continued to get their pensions in full. New people have applied. They continue to get their pensions. We still have money to get us to a hopeful resolution, and I'm more encouraged today about a possibility of a resolution than I was even 3 months ago. So that's where we've come a long way, and my hope is that I can pull one last rabbit out of the hat for you guys.
Thank you. I hope so.
Yeah. If not, Julie's going to guarantee everybody's.
Oh, is that the way it works? Does she know that?
I just
He's a
told her.
very generous man, isn't he, everyone?
Let me see. I've got a couple of questions. For federal income taxes, how can I obtain documentation of income tax deducted from my pension payments? For the question is for income tax purposes, how can I obtain documentation of income taxes deducted from my pension payments? Julie, I'm assuming GRS can provide that. That's from Kathy Rose.
Why didn't you put your paperwork once you
I
did?
assume statements were sent, but if not, if somebody needs a copy of that, they can probably get that from either BOA or GRS.
So they were sent out. GRS receives a copy of everybody's tax forms that were sent out by Bank of America. So in the event somebody does need it, while though you cannot contact Bank of America directly because they're just not allowed to deal directly with pension participants, you can contact GRS and they can get you a copy of what was sent to you.
Thank you, Julie. And then the other question is the new bishop involved in the mediation? My answer to that question is I don't know. The reason why I say I don't know is because the parties that have been at the mediation are not the new or the current bishop. I do know that they contacted the current bishop by phone today. I am assuming, although it is just an assumption on my part, that the progress of the mediation and positions and everything else are being communicated both to the current bishop as well as the new incoming bishop. But I don't know that for certain because I've had no contact with either one of them directly. My understanding is that I was told today, and again, this is just what I'm told, is that the new bishop won't be coming in until sometime in June or July. I guess they're still waiting for something from the Vatican. And until that happens, Bishop Tobin will remain in place. With his replacement to be kind of sitting in the wings waiting. But I'm not sure. Did somebody just share? Did I share a screen?
Yes.
Didn't mean to do that.
Hmm.
Oh, need to do that.
Nope, it says that Karen Poe's screen is being shared. So Karen, if you can hear this, you're sharing your screen.
Hmm. We can still see and hear you, Steve. It's just smaller.
Just a big view in front of me, or instead of me. That's probably better for everybody anyway, John. Does anybody else have any questions?
Karen,
No other questions?
I don't have her number.
I am hopeful, I will say this, is based on discussions today. I am hopeful that I'll have some other information for you, maybe even before the next 4 to 6 weeks. But keeping in mind, I will say this from a process standpoint, and I guess this is important for everybody to understand. We're going through mediation with the diocese right now. In order for that mediation to be concluded, obviously I need to come to terms that I think are fair and reasonable with the Diocese of Providence, assuming that I believe the terms to be fair and reasonable and agree to a settlement structure with the diocese. That would have to be presented to both the state court and the federal court for approval. Both Judge Smith in the federal litigation, as well as Judge Stern in the receivership proceedings, would need to approve it. In addition, I would be going to the Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation to make sure that they are supportive of the settlement, because if they think that the settlement is insufficient, then that may be a barrier to them coming in to take over the plan. So I am communicating with them as well. And part of what I would be communicating with them is their position on the settlement, to make sure that they were supportive of it. Because obviously if they come in and object, that could create some substantial problems in getting a settlement that I think is beneficial approved. So even if I come to terms, or maybe I should be positive, when I come to terms with the diocese, I will still need to communicate it with the PBGC and get their, at very least, unofficial position on it. And then assuming that unofficial position is positive, I will go forward with the formal request to approve between the two courts. And that process, the state court process would be relatively quick. Federal court would as well, but maybe a little less quick than the state. So we're about to head into the beginning of April. Let's say I'm able to nail down a settlement by the end of April. If things continue to move in a positive direction with the diocese, we would probably look at approval by the courts sometime in maybe the midsummer, by July or something like that, just so you guys have a timeline on what we're looking at. Just because I enter into a settlement with the diocese doesn't mean it gets automatically approved. We got to go through some processes. All right, last chance for questions. Anybody have it? Yes, Marilyn.
Another question. So if this is going to take that long, I went back into my notes, and it's been 6 months since we met, since we had a call. And that's a long time for us to have to wait to see what's happening.
That is a
So
long
if
time. I
you come
apologize.
to an agreement,
Yeah.
is there a way, even by mail, that you can let us know that the mediation has been positive and now we have to go through these processes?
Yeah, if I come to a position with either the diocese or the PBGC, that is we'll start another process, I guess I'll say. So if I enter into a resolution with the diocese, while I might not be able to give you the details because we're going to have to draft it up, we're going to have to hammer out the details. I will call one of these to at least let you guys know that I have what I believe is a reasonable settlement with the diocese, a reasonable resolution, that we're papering it. And obviously, once that's finalized, you guys will know about it because I'll be seeking approval by the court. But just so you know that the mediation has stopped because of a successful outcome, or on the flip side and the less positive side, if the mediation stops because discussions break down, I'll call another one of these meetings to let you know that as well. So whether mediation finishes for good reasons or bad reasons, I'll call one of these meetings and let you guys know.
So what will happen if the mediation is not successful for, what's this, the third time that we've been into mediation? What happens then?
If it's not successful, two things will happen. One, we will proceed forward with the litigation in federal court. We'll start with whatever point we are at in terms of discovery and depositions and things like that. We'll proceed down that litigation path with the diocese. The other thing that will happen is I will continue to do what I have to do to pursue and try to get the PBGC to come in. So those two things are not mutually exclusive. They're running parallel paths. And the PBGC issue, while at right now, I do want to keep them apprised of my efforts with the diocese. My efforts with the diocese are not contingent upon whether or not we continue down the road with the PBGC and continue to try to get their insurance for this plan.
So if you are able to get the insurance for the plan and the mediation has not been successful, if PBGC agrees, am I correct in saying that they will then take over the lawsuit?
One of two things can happen. Your general understanding is correct, is that the lawsuit would be something that the PBGC would inherit, and it would be their decision to either continue it or dismiss it. The more likely scenario is that they will give kind of a tentative approval while the lawsuit continues, and they might ask me to continue pursuing it and then have the time that they come in pending the conclusion of that lawsuit. Another option would be that they would retain Wistow, Sheen and Lovely as special counsel for them. So there really wouldn't be a lag in the lawsuit. It would just be, they would step into my shoes in terms of directing Wistow, Sheen and Lovely as the client on the litigation.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. I will say that I think it's the settlement or the mediation with the diocese is not going to impact what I do with the PBGC, but the settlement or the litigation with the diocese may impact the timing of the PBGC coming in. Any other questions?
Very well.
Let me see, I've got, okay. I thought that there were some questions posted, but no. If there are no other questions, I want to wish everybody a wonderful rest of your evening. I promise you it will not be 6 months between the next meeting. It'll be 4 to 6 weeks, if not sooner. We'll get back on that track and we will go from there. And if any, like I said, if anything comes up in the interim that is a significant event, either with regard to the mediation or the PBGC or anything else for that matter, we will call a meeting sooner than that if it's appropriate. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Steve.
Thank
Thank you.